Sometimes the truth hits you like a freight train when you least expect it. William thought he knew his wife, after 15 years of marriage. He believed in their love, their promises, their shared dreams of growing old together. But on that cold Tuesday evening in November, everything he thought he knew would crumble in the span of 30 minutes inside his own car. What started as a simple drive to pick up groceries would become the moment that changed 3 lives forever. Because sometimes, the most devastating discoveries happen in the most ordinary places. And sometimes, the person you trust most in the world is the one holding the knife behind their back. This is the story of William Camilla and the phone call that revealed everything. William Henderson had always been a man of routine. Every Tuesday after work, he would stop at Morrison's grocery store, pick up the weekly shopping list that Camilla had carefully written in her neat handwriting, and drive home to their modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs of Manchester. It was a ritual they had established early in their marriage, one that had survived job changes, financial struggles, and all the small compromises that long marriages require. On this particular Tuesday, the November rain was coming down in sheets, turning the familiar streets into a blur of headlights and wet pavement. William sat in his aging Ford Focus, engine idling in the grocery store car park, checking Camilla's list one more time. Milk, bread, eggs, the usual suspects. He was about to turn off the engine when his phone buzzed with a text message. The message was from his wife. "Don't forget the wine for dinner with Sarah tomorrow. Love you." William smiled and typed back. "Already on the list. See you soon." He was reaching for the door handle when Camilla's phone rang. That wasn't unusual. Camilla often called him when he was at the store to add last-minute items to the list. But when he answered, expecting to hear his wife's voice, he heard something that made his blood run cold. "Marcus, I can't keep doing this," came Camilla's voice through the speaker. She was crying. "William almost caught us last week when you called the house. I told him it was a wrong number, but I don't think he believed me." William's hand froze on the door handle. His wife's voice was coming through his phone, but she wasn't talking to him. She didn't know he could hear her. I know, Camilla continued, her voice thick with emotion. "But this is eating me alive. Every time I look at him, every time he kisses me goodnight, I feel like I'm dying inside. We've been lying to him for 8 months now, Marcus. 8 months of sneaking around, of stolen moments, of me pretending to be the perfect wife while I'm—" Her voice broke completely. William's world tilted on its axis. 8 months. They had been together for 8 months. He tried to remember what had happened 8 months ago, what had changed in their relationship. Had there been signs? Had he missed something obvious? A male voice came through the phone, warm and familiar in a way that made William's stomach lurch. "Camilla, darling, we've talked about this. You know you're not happy with him. You haven't been happy for years. You told me yourself that you and William barely talk anymore, that you're like strangers living in the same house." Marcus. The name hit William like a physical blow. Marcus Peterson, Camilla's colleague at the accounting firm where she worked. William had met him several times at office Christmas parties and company picnics, a tall, handsome man with salt and pepper hair and an easy smile. Divorced, Camilla had mentioned once, looking for someone special. She had said with what William now realized was a particular tone in her voice. "That's not the point," Camilla was saying. "William is a good man. He doesn't deserve this. He's been nothing but kind and patient with me, even when I've been distant. Even when I've been—" She paused, and William could hear her crying harder now. "Even when I've been pulling away from him because I'm in love with someone else." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. In love with someone else. Not just an affair, not just a mistake or a moment of weakness. Love. Real, deep, consuming love for another man. "You deserve to be happy, Camilla," Marcus said gently. "You deserve to be with someone who makes you feel alive, who makes you laugh the way you used to. When was the last time William made you laugh? When was the last time he surprised you or made you feel beautiful?" William closed his eyes, trying to remember. When had he last surprised his wife? When had he last made her laugh? The answer came to him with brutal clarity. He couldn't remember. Somewhere in the routine of work and bills and the comfortable predictability of marriage, he had stopped trying to court the woman he loved.
"It's not about that," Camilla protested. But her voice was weaker now.
"William and I, we have a history. We have 15 years together. We have the house, our friends, our whole life. But do you have happiness?" Marcus asked. "Do you have passion? Do you have love?" The silence that followed was deafening. William sat in his car, rain drumming on the roof, waiting for his wife to defend their marriage, to say that yes, she did love him, that yes, they did have something worth fighting for. The silence stretched on. "I love you, Marcus," she finally whispered. "I love you so much it hurts. I love the way you listen to me, the way you make me feel like I matter. I love how you remember little things about me that William hasn't noticed in years. I love how alive I feel when I'm with you." William felt something break inside his chest, not just his heart, but something deeper. His faith in the world, in love, in the woman he had built his entire adult life around. "Then you know what you have to do," Marcus said softly. "You have to tell him. You have to be honest with William. He deserves that much, and so do you. And so do we." "I can't," Camilla sobbed. "I can't break his heart like that." "You don't understand, Marcus. William loves me so completely, so innocently. He still looks at me the way he did when we were 23. He still believes in us, in our future together. How can I destroy that?" "Because living a lie is destroying all of us," Marcus replied. "Including William. He may not know it, but he's living with a wife who is in love with someone else. That's not fair to him. That's not the life he deserves either." William realized he was gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles had turned white. He wanted to hang up the phone, to pretend he had never heard this conversation, to drive home and continue living in the comfortable illusion of his marriage, but he couldn't move. He was trapped by the awful fascination of hearing his life dissected by the two people who had been systematically dismantling it behind his back. "What if he fights for me?" Camilla asked. "What if he tries to win me back? Then you'll have to be strong enough to walk away from something that isn't working anymore," Marcus said. "Camilla, I've been married before. I know what it's like to stay in a relationship, out of obligation, out of habit, out of fear of hurting someone. It doesn't work. It just makes everyone miserable in the end." "But what about his job?" Camilla asked. "William works so hard. He's been at the same company for 12 years. He loves his routine, his stability. This will shatter him. What if he can't cope? What if he does something stupid?" William's breath caught in his throat. His wife was worried about him, genuinely concerned about how this revelation would affect him. There was still tenderness there, still care. But it wasn't love. Not the kind of love she felt for Marcus, not the kind of love that made her voice soft and breathless when she spoke to her lover. "William is stronger than you think," Marcus said, "and he deserves a chance to find real happiness too. Maybe with someone who can love him the way he needs to be loved." "I did love him that way once," Camilla said quietly. "I really did. When we first got married, I thought we would be together forever. I thought what we had was enough." "What changed?" Marcus asked. William found himself leaning forward, desperate to hear the answer. What had he done wrong? When had he lost her? How had he failed so completely without even knowing it? "Nothing dramatic," Camilla said. "That's the terrible thing about it. Nothing dramatic happened. We just grew apart slowly. So slowly that neither of us noticed until it was too late. We stopped talking about dreams and started talking about mortgages. We stopped having adventures and started having routines. We stopped seeing each other as lovers and started seeing each other as, I don't know, roommates, business partners in the enterprise of daily life." William felt the truth of her words like a physical pain. When had they stopped being lovers and become business partners? When had their conversations become limited to grocery lists and bills, and whose turn it was to take out the rubbish? "And then you came along," Camilla continued, her voice brightening even through her tears, "and suddenly I remembered what it felt like to be desired, to be interesting to someone. I remembered what it felt like to have butterflies in my stomach when someone texted me. I remembered what it felt like to count the hours until I could see someone again." "I felt the same way," Marcus said tenderly, "from that first day when you started working in our department. You were so beautiful, but more than that, you were so alive, so intelligent and funny and passionate about your work. I couldn't understand how someone like you could seem so sad underneath it all. I wasn't even aware I was sad," Camilla admitted. "I thought I was just settled. Content. I told myself that marriage was supposed to be comfortable, that passion was for young people. I convinced myself that what William and I had was mature love, the kind that lasts." "But it wasn't love at all, was it?" Marcus asked gently. "No," Camilla whispered. "It was habit. It was fear of change. It was the path of least resistance. And I've been so angry at myself for settling, for accepting a life that was just fine. Just okay, just bearable." William closed his eyes, feeling the weight of her words. He had thought they were happy. He had thought fine and comfortable were good things, signs of a stable, mature relationship. He had been proud of their predictability, their lack of drama. He had congratulated himself on building a peaceful, harmonious life with the woman he loved. But she had been dying inside. She had been settling. She had been accepting a life that was merely bearable while dreaming of something more. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "I don't know," Camilla said. "I honestly don't know. I need time to think, to figure out how to do this without destroying him completely." "Time isn't going to make this easier," Marcus warned. "Every day you wait, every day you continue to live this lie, it gets harder for all of us." "I know," Camilla said. "I know you're right. It's just..." God, Marcus, we're talking about ending a 15-year marriage. We're talking about dividing up a life, selling a house, telling friends and family that everything they thought they knew about us was wrong. "We're talking about setting everyone free to find real happiness," Marcus corrected, including William. William heard the sound of a door closing in the background of the call, and his wife's voice became more urgent. "I have to go," she said quickly. "William will be home soon, and I need to pull myself together. I need to pretend everything is normal for just a little while longer." "Camilla, please don't wait too long," Marcus pleaded. "I love you. I want to be with you properly, openly. I want to take you to dinner without having to worry about who might see us. I want to wake up next to you on Sunday mornings. I want to introduce you to my friends as the woman I love, not as a colleague from work." "I love you too," Camilla whispered, "more than I ever thought possible. I'll figure this out, I promise. I just need a few more days to find the right words, the right way to tell him." "Okay," Marcus said. "But remember, every moment you spend pretending to be happy with William is a moment stolen from the life we could be building together."
"I know," she said.
"I know, and I'm sorry. For everything. For the mess I've made, for the pain I'm going to cause. I'm sorry." The call ended abruptly, leaving William alone in the sudden silence of his car. The rain continued to fall, drumming against the windows like the beating of his broken heart. He sat there for a long time, staring at the grocery store entrance, watching people hurry through the rain with their shopping trolleys and their normal, uncomplicated lives. His wife was in love with someone else. His marriage was a lie. Everything he thought he knew about his life had been shattered in the space of a 20-minute phone call that he was never supposed to hear. William woke up before dawn on Wednesday morning, his mind immediately sharp and alert despite having slept poorly. Beside him, Camilla was still sleeping peacefully, her face relaxed in a way that it rarely was during her waking hours anymore. He watched her for a few minutes, trying to reconcile this serene image with the woman he had heard pouring her heart out to another man just yesterday evening. He slipped out of bed quietly and made his way downstairs to make coffee. As he waited for the machine to finish brewing, William made a decision that surprised him with its clarity. He wasn't going to confront Camilla today. Instead, he was going to investigate. He was going to learn everything he could about her affair, about Marcus, about how long this had really been going on and how serious it was. He needed to understand what he was up against before he decided how to handle it. William called in sick to work, something he rarely did and which would give him the entire day to think and plan. Camilla accepted his explanation of a stomach bug without question, even seeming relieved that she wouldn't have to maintain their morning routine of polite conversation over breakfast. "I'll probably work late again tonight," she said as she gathered her things for work. "That new client is really demanding, and Marcus and I need to go over some of the more complex accounts." The casual way she mentioned Marcus's name sent a chill through William. She had become so comfortable with weaving her lover into their daily conversations that she didn't even realize she was doing it. "Of course," William said. "Don't worry about dinner. I'll probably just have some soup and go to bed early." Camilla kissed his forehead with the kind of concerned affection one might show a sick friend. "Feel better, darling. I'll try not to wake you when I get home." After she left, William stood at the kitchen window and watched her car disappear down their street. Then he went upstairs and did something he had never done in 15 years of marriage. He searched through his wife's personal belongings. Camilla's nightstand drawer yielded nothing more incriminating than a collection of old birthday cards and some jewelry she rarely wore. Her dresser drawers were similarly innocent. William felt dirty going through her things, but he pressed on, driven by a desperate need to understand the scope of her betrayal. In her desk in the spare bedroom that served as a home office, William found more evidence of the careful compartmentalization that had allowed Camilla to maintain her double life. Her personal laptop was password protected, but William knew his wife well enough to guess correctly that she would use their anniversary date combined with her maiden name. Camilla's email account revealed a trail of communications that made William's discoveries the previous evening seem almost innocent by comparison. The affair hadn't started 8 months ago as he had initially thought. It had been building for nearly a year, beginning with friendly professional emails that had gradually become more personal, then flirtatious, then explicitly romantic. William read through months of correspondence, watching his marriage die in real time through the words his wife had written to another man. The progression was agonizing to witness. Early emails were careful, professional, but with undertones of attraction that even William could recognize. Camilla had initiated many of the conversations, asking Marcus questions about his work that clearly weren't necessary, commenting on presentations he had given, finding excuses to communicate. Marcus had been receptive but cautious at first, responding to Camilla's overtures with warmth but maintaining professional boundaries. William grudgingly had to admit that the man hadn't pursued his wife aggressively. If anything, he had seemed to recognize the potential complications and had tried to keep things appropriate. But by Christmas of the previous year, the tone of their correspondence had shifted dramatically. Office party references gave way to personal confessions. Camilla had written to Marcus about feeling lonely in her marriage, about missing the excitement and passion she remembered from her younger years. Marcus had responded with his own admissions about the loneliness of divorce, about finding himself attracted to a woman he couldn't have. William forced himself to read every email, even as each word felt like a knife wound. He read about the first time they had lunch together, just the two of them, ostensibly to discuss a client, but really to explore the growing connection between them. He read about the first time Marcus had told Camilla she was beautiful, how it had made her feel alive in a way she had forgotten was possible. The emails documented their first kiss, which had happened in March in Marcus's car after a work conference. Camilla had written about it in detail the next day, describing how guilty she felt, but also how wonderful it had been to feel desired again, to feel like a woman rather than just a wife going through the motions of marriage. What struck William most painfully was how articulate Camilla was about her feelings for Marcus compared to how silent she had become about their own relationship. She wrote passionate, thoughtful emails about her lover's intelligence, his humor, the way he made her feel understood and valued. When was the last time she had said anything even remotely similar about William? The physical affair had begun a month after their first kiss. Camilla's emails about that progression were filled with guilt and self-recrimination, but also with descriptions of a passion and connection that she clearly hadn't felt in years. She wrote about feeling like she was discovering herself again, like she had been sleepwalking through her life until Marcus woke her up.
James Brown said.
William found himself crying as he read his wife's words, not just because of the betrayal, but because of the recognition that she was right. They had been sleepwalking through their marriage. He had been so focused on providing stability, on being a good husband in the traditional sense, that he had forgotten to be a lover, a companion, a source of excitement and growth for the woman he claimed to love. But understanding didn't make the betrayal hurt less. If anything, it made it worse, because William could see how completely his wife had fallen in love with someone else. This wasn't a midlife crisis or a moment of weakness. This was a complete emotional and physical commitment to another man. The emails also revealed the extent of their deception. Marcus and Camilla had developed an elaborate system of communication and meetings that had allowed them to carry on their affair without detection. They used work conferences and client meetings as cover for romantic getaways. They had even spent a weekend together in Edinburgh just 2 months ago, something Camilla had explained to William as a professional development conference. By lunchtime, William had a complete picture of his wife's affair, and it was worse than he had imagined. Camilla wasn't just cheating on him, she had built an entire parallel life with Marcus. They talked every day, sometimes multiple times. They had inside jokes and shared memories and future plans that didn't include William at all. The most recent emails revealed their struggle with how to handle their situation. Marcus was pushing for Camilla to leave her marriage, to be honest with William, and start their life together openly. Camilla was torn between her love for Marcus and her guilt about hurting William. She wrote repeatedly about how she knew she was being cruel to everyone involved by maintaining the status quo, but she couldn't find the courage to end her marriage. William closed the laptop and sat back in his chair, feeling emotionally exhausted. He now knew more about his wife's affair than he had ever wanted to know. The question was, what was he going to do with this information? Part of him wanted to confront them both immediately, to call Marcus and arrange a meeting where they could discuss the situation like adults. Another part of him wanted to pack his bags and disappear, to let Camilla come home to an empty house and a note explaining that he knew everything. A darker part of him wanted revenge, wanted to find a way to hurt them both as badly as they had hurt him. But mostly, William felt sad. Sad for the marriage he had lost without even realizing it. Sad for the woman he had failed to keep interested in their life together. Sad for the years they had wasted being polite strangers instead of honest partners. As the afternoon wore on, William found himself thinking about the practical aspects of divorce. They owned the house jointly, had shared bank accounts, had built a life together that would need to be carefully dismantled. He thought about telling their friends and family, about the embarrassment and pity he would have to endure. He thought about starting over at 41, about learning how to be single again after spending his entire adult life as half of a couple. But he also found himself thinking about freedom, about the possibility of finding someone who would love him the way Camilla loved Marcus, about the chance to build a relationship based on genuine compatibility and passion rather than habit and obligation. By the time he heard Camilla's car in the driveway at 8 o'clock that evening, William had made his decision. He was going to let her make the choice. He was going to give her one opportunity to be honest with him about Marcus, about her feelings, about what she wanted for their future. If she chose to continue lying, if she chose to keep him trapped in a marriage that was already over, then he would force the issue. But first, he would give her the chance to do the right thing. Camilla found him in the living room, reading a book and looking much healthier than he had that morning. "Feeling better?" she asked, settling into her usual spot on the sofa. "Much," William said. "How was your day?" "Did you and Marcus get those accounts sorted out?" "Oh, yes," Camilla said, her face brightening at the mention of Marcus. "He's really brilliant with the complex calculations. I don't know what I'd do without him." William nodded, watching his wife's face carefully. She was glowing in a way that had nothing to do with work satisfaction and everything to do with having spent the evening with the man she loved. "He seems like a good colleague," William said carefully. "Have you worked closely with him for long?" "About a year now," Camilla said. "He joined our department last January. He's really made a difference to the team dynamic." The casual lie came so easily that William marveled at how well his wife had learned to deceive him. Marcus had been with the company for 3 years, not one, and his transfer to Camilla's department had been at her request, not a random assignment. "That's good," William said. "It's important to have colleagues you can rely on." They chatted for a few more minutes about inconsequential things, maintaining the polite facade that had become their normal mode of communication. But William was watching Camilla carefully, noting every tell, every sign that her mind was elsewhere. When she excused herself to take a shower, William heard her phone ring almost immediately. He listened to the soft murmur of her voice as she spoke to Marcus, probably recounting her day and reassuring him that William hadn't suspected anything. That night, as they lay in bed together, William made one last attempt to give his wife an opening for honesty. "Camilla," he said quietly in the darkness, "if there was something you needed to tell me, something important about our marriage or our future, you know you could trust me with it, right?" Beside him, Camilla went very still. For a long moment, William thought she might actually confess everything, might take the opportunity he was offering her to end the deception. "Of course," she said finally. "But there's nothing like that. Everything's fine, William. We're fine." And with those words, William knew that his marriage was truly over. Not because of the affair, but because his wife had chosen to look him in the eye and lie to him, when given a direct opportunity to be honest. "Okay," he said softly. "I just wanted you to know." "I know," Camilla said, and he could hear the guilt in her voice. "And I love you for that. I love how patient and understanding you are." But she didn't love him, not the way she loved Marcus. And William finally understood that love without passion, without genuine connection, without the desire to share your deepest truths, wasn't really love at all. It was just kindness, just habit, just the comfortable lie that people told themselves when they were too afraid to seek something real. As he listened to his wife fall asleep beside him, William began planning for the conversation that would end their marriage once and for all. Tomorrow, he decided. Tomorrow he would stop being the understanding, patient husband and start being the man who demanded honesty from the people who claimed to love him. Thursday morning arrived with the kind of crisp November clarity that made everything seem sharper, more defined. William woke up with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Today was the day he would stop being a passive participant in the dissolution of his marriage and take control of his own life. He had spent most of the night planning exactly how he would handle the confrontation with Camilla. He wouldn't be angry or accusatory. He wouldn't scream or cry or beg. He would simply present her with the truth he had discovered and ask her to make a choice, him or Marcus. Their marriage or her affair, the comfortable lie or the difficult truth. Camilla was in the shower when William made his decision about timing. He wouldn't wait for evening. Wouldn't let another day pass with the pretense of normalcy. When she came downstairs for breakfast, he would tell her everything he knew.
You look much better this morning,
Camilla said as she entered the kitchen, her hair still damp from the shower. She was wearing a blue dress that William had always particularly liked on her, though he suspected she was no longer wearing it for his benefit. I feel better, William said, pouring her a cup of coffee. Actually, I feel like I've had a breakthrough about some things that have been bothering me. Camilla accepted the coffee gratefully, settling into her usual chair at their small breakfast table.
Oh?
What kind of breakthrough? William sat down across from her, studying her face in the morning light. She was beautiful, there was no denying that, but there was something different about her now. Something that he realized had been there for months but which he was only now able to identify. She looked guilty. Not just in this moment, but generally, like a woman carrying the weight of a significant deception. I've been thinking about us, William said carefully. About our marriage. About how we've grown apart over the years. Camilla's hands stilled around her coffee mug. Oh, she said quietly. That's quite a serious topic for breakfast conversation. Is there a better time? William asked. When do we ever really talk anymore, Camilla? I mean, really talk about important things, about how we're feeling, about what we want from life.
We talk, Camilla protested, but her voice lacked conviction.
Do we? William challenged gently. When was the last time you told me about something that really mattered to you? When was the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about groceries or bills or whose turn it is to take out the rubbish? Camilla looked down at her hands, and William could see the guilt written plainly across her features. I don't know, she admitted. I suppose we have gotten into a bit of a routine. A bit of a routine, William repeated. Is that what you'd call it? Something in his tone made Camilla look up sharply. William, what's this about? You're acting strange. I'm acting like a man who's finally ready to be honest about his marriage, William said. The question is, are you ready to be honest too? The color drained from Camilla's face. I don't know what you mean. Don't you? William asked quietly. Camilla, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. Is there anything you need to tell me about your relationship with Marcus Peterson? The coffee mug slipped from Camilla's hands, hitting the table with a sharp crack and sending hot liquid across the surface. She stared at William with wide, panicked eyes, her mouth opening and closing without sound. She began, then stopped. I don't. Why would you ask me that? Because I think you know exactly why, William said, reaching across the table to mop up the spilled coffee with a kitchen towel. I think you've known for a long time that this conversation was coming. Camilla was breathing rapidly now, her face pale but her cheeks flushed with what William recognized as the physical manifestation of panic. William, I think you're jumping to conclusions. Marcus is a colleague, nothing more. Camilla, William said gently, please don't lie to me anymore. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I'm not lying, Camilla insisted, but her voice was shaking now. I don't know what you think you know, but you're wrong. William reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. With a few quick taps, he brought up the recording application where he had saved a portion of the conversation he had overheard in his car 2 days earlier. Camilla's own voice filled the kitchen. I love you, Marcus. I love you so much it hurts. Camilla's face crumpled as if she had been physically struck. Oh, God, she whispered. Oh, God, William, I can explain. Can you? William asked, his voice steady despite the pain that was coursing through him. Can you explain how you've been having an affair for almost a year? Can you explain how you've been lying to me every single day, looking me in the eye and pretending to be my wife while you're in love with someone else? Camilla was crying now, tears streaming down her face as she struggled to find words. How long have you known? She managed. Since Tuesday evening, William said. I heard your phone conversation with Marcus when I was at the grocery store. Something went wrong with the connection, and I could hear everything. Tuesday, Camilla repeated numbly. You've known since Tuesday and you've been acting normal. We've been going about our lives like everything was fine. Like you've been doing for months, William pointed out. The only difference is that now we both know the truth. Camilla buried her face in her hands. I never meant for this to happen, she sobbed. I never meant to fall in love with him. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, William said quietly. You did fall in love with him, and you are hurting me. The question now is, what are you going to do about it? Camilla looked up at him through her tears, her face streaked with mascara. What do you mean? I mean, you have a choice to make, William said. You can end the affair, and we can try to rebuild our marriage, or you can be honest about what you really want, and we can end this with some dignity and tact. William, please, Camilla started, reaching across the table toward him. Please don't make me choose right now. I'm so confused, I don't know what to do. I love him, but I care about you too. You're my husband. We have a life together, do we? William asked, pulling his hand away from hers. Do we really have a life together, Camilla? Or do we just have a routine? A comfortable arrangement that allows you to have stability at home while you build a real relationship with someone else. That's not fair, Camilla protested. Isn't it? William challenged. Tell me honestly, when was the last time you felt excited to see me? When was the last time you missed me when I was away? When was the last time you looked forward to spending time alone with me? Camilla's silence was answer enough. I read your emails, William continued, watching as fresh panic flashed across his wife's face. I know this isn't just a physical affair. I know you've built an entire relationship with Marcus, that you talk to him every day, that you share things with him that you haven't shared with me in years. You read my emails? Camilla's voice was barely a whisper. I read everything, William said. Your laptop wasn't as secure as you thought. I know about Edinburgh. I know about all the late nights that weren't really work. I know about the lunch dates and the phone calls and the plans you've been making for a future that doesn't include me. Camilla was sobbing openly now, her whole body shaking with the force of her emotions. I'm so sorry, she kept repeating. I'm so sorry, William. I never wanted to hurt you like this. Then why did you? William asked, and for the first time, his voice cracked with emotion. Why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you tell me you were unhappy, that you needed something different from our marriage? Why did you just replace me without giving me a chance to fight for us? Because I didn't think there was anything to fight for, Camilla admitted through her tears. Because we'd grown so far apart that I couldn't even remember what we used to have together. Because when Marcus came along and made me feel alive again, I realized how dead I'd felt in our marriage for so long. The words hit William like physical blows, but he forced himself to stay calm. So you gave up on us without even trying to fix things. What was I supposed to fix? Camilla asked, her voice rising with frustration and guilt. The fact that we never talk anymore? The fact that we're more like roommates than lovers? The fact that you've been treating me like a convenience for years instead of like a woman you're supposed to be in love with? Is that really how you see our marriage? William asked quietly. Yes, Camilla said, then immediately looked stricken by her own honesty. I mean, no, not entirely. You're a good man, William. You've been a good husband in many ways, but we haven't been happy for a long time, and you know it. William sat back in his chair, processing his wife's words. There was truth in what she was saying, painful truth that he had been avoiding for months or even years. They had become complacent, had stopped making effort for each other, had allowed their marriage to become a comfortable but passionless arrangement, but that didn't excuse what she had done. You're right, he said finally. We haven't been happy. But the solution to that was to work on our marriage, not to find someone else to be happy with while lying to me about it. I know, Camilla whispered. I know that's what I should have done. I know I handled this all wrong. But William, you have to understand. When someone makes you feel the way Marcus makes me feel, it's hard to walk away from that. It's hard to choose duty over love. Is that what I am to you? William asked. Duty? Camilla's face crumpled again. I don't know anymore. I care about you, I do. But I'm not in love with you anymore. I haven't been for a long time. And I am in love with Marcus. Completely, utterly in love with him. In a way that I'd forgotten was possible. William nodded slowly. At least you're finally being honest. They sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of 15 years of marriage hanging between them. William found himself thinking about their wedding day, about the young couple who had promised to love each other forever. Those people seemed like strangers now. What happens now? Camilla asked finally. That depends on what you want, William said. I'm not going to beg you to stay with me if you don't want to be here. I'm not going to try to compete with Marcus for your affection. If you're in love with him, if that's what you want, then you should be with him. You're not going to fight for our marriage? Camilla seemed surprised. What would be the point? William asked. You've made your choice, Camilla. You made it months ago when you decided to start building a life with someone else. I'm just finally acknowledging reality. I never meant for things to go this far, Camilla said. I kept thinking I would end it, that I would figure out how to be satisfied with what we have, but the longer it went on, the harder it became to give up what Marcus and I have together. And now? Camilla looked at him with red, swollen eyes. Now I don't think I can give him up. I don't think I want to. I love him, William. I love him in a way that in a way that makes me feel like myself again. William nodded, feeling a strange sense of relief along with the pain. At least now they were being honest with each other. Then I think you should be with him, he said quietly. And I think we should talk to lawyers about how to end this marriage with as much dignity as possible. You want a divorce? Camilla's voice was small. I want you to be happy, William said. And I want to be with someone who chooses me, not someone who settles for me. We both deserve better than what we've been giving each other. Camilla was crying again, but quieter now. I do care about you, William. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I do. I hate that I've hurt you so badly. I know, William said. And maybe someday I'll be able to forgive you for how you handled this. But right now, I just need you to be honest with me about what you want. I want to be with Marcus, Camilla admitted. I want to build a life with him. I want to stop lying and pretending and living a double life. Then that's what you should do, William said. They talked for another hour, working out the practical details of their separation. Camilla would move out by the end of the week. They would tell their friends and families together, presenting a united front despite the pain between them. They would divide their assets fairly and try to end their marriage without destroying each other in the process. As difficult as the conversation was, William found himself feeling lighter than he had in months. The weight of pretense was finally lifted. The truth was painful, but it was also liberating. When Camilla left for work that morning, they both knew it would be one of the last times she would leave their house as his wife. The end of their marriage was no longer a possibility but an inevitability, and somehow that made everything easier to bear. William called in sick to work again and spent the day beginning the process of dismantling their shared life. It was heartbreaking work, but it was also necessary work. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was moving forward instead of standing still. 6 months later, William stood in the kitchen of his new apartment, making coffee for one and watching the spring rain through the window. The flat was smaller than the house he had shared with Camilla, but it felt more like home than anywhere he had lived in years. Every piece of furniture, every book, every photograph had been chosen by him alone, reflecting his tastes and his life rather than the careful compromises of marriage. The divorce had been finalized 3 weeks earlier. It had been relatively amicable, as divorces go. Camilla had been fair about the financial arrangements, and they had managed to divide their shared life with minimal drama. Their friends had been shocked but ultimately supportive, and their families had rallied around them both with a kindness that had surprised William. Camilla was living with Marcus now, in a flat closer to their office. According to mutual friends, they seemed happy together. William had seen them once, quite by accident, at a restaurant in the city center. They had been laughing about something, leaning toward each other across the table with the kind of intimacy that William remembered from his early days with Camilla. It had hurt to see, but it had also confirmed that he had made the right decision in letting her go. The doorbell rang, interrupting his thoughts. William glanced at the clock and smiled. Sarah was exactly on time, as always. "Morning," she said when he opened the door, shaking the rain from her umbrella. Lovely weather for a Saturday. Sarah Mitchell had been his and Camilla's friend for years, but she had remained firmly in William's corner after the divorce. She was a divorce attorney herself and had guided him through the legal process with professional expertise and personal warmth. Somewhere along the way, her regular check-ins had evolved into coffee dates and then into something that felt suspiciously like courtship. "Coffee's ready," William said, taking her coat. "How did the Henderson case go yesterday?" "Settled out of court, thank God," Sarah said, settling into the chair that had become hers during these morning visits. The husband finally realized that fighting over the garden gnomes wasn't worth another month of legal fees. William laughed, pouring her a cup of coffee. "Garden gnomes? You'd be amazed what people fight about when their marriage ends," Sarah said. "Some of it's about the money, but most of it's about the hurt. People want to punish each other for not being the person they thought they married." "Is that what you think I did?" William asked, sitting down across from her. "Punish Camilla?" "No," Sarah said firmly. "You were remarkably mature about the whole thing. A lot of men in your situation would have tried to take her for everything she had, especially after finding out about the affair the way you did." William shrugged. "What would have been the point? Making her miserable wouldn't have made me happy." "No, but it might have felt good in the moment," Sarah observed. "You're a better man than most, William Henderson." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, drinking coffee and watching the rain. William had grown to treasure these quiet moments with Sarah. She was nothing like Camilla. More direct, more pragmatic, less concerned with appearances, and more focused on substance. With Sarah, he never felt like he had to perform or pretend. She saw him clearly and seemed to like what she saw, flaws and all. "I had dinner with my sister last night," Sarah said eventually. "She asked me if I was dating anyone interesting. What did you tell her?" "I told her I was seeing a lovely man who makes excellent coffee and doesn't leave dishes in the sink," Sarah said with a smile. "She wants to meet you." William felt a flutter of something that might have been nervousness or excitement. "And how do you feel about that?" "I think it's time," Sarah said simply. "We've been dancing around this for months now. Either we're friends who happen to have coffee together every Saturday, or we're something more." "I think we both know which one it is." William reached across the table and took her hand. "Something more," he agreed. They had kissed for the first time 2 weeks earlier, after a dinner that had definitely not been just two friends sharing a meal. It had been tentative at first, both of them aware of the complications involved in moving from friendship to romance, but it had also felt right in a way that surprised William with its simplicity. "I should probably tell you," William said, running his thumb across Sarah's knuckles. "I'm completely out of practice at this. I haven't dated anyone since I was 23. "I should probably tell you," Sarah replied. "I'm perfectly fine with taking things slowly. I've waited this long to find someone worth waiting for." William's phone buzzed with a text message, and he glanced at the screen. It was from Camilla. "Saw the announcement about your promotion in the paper. Congratulations. You deserve it." Kesey William showed the message to Sarah, who read it with the careful expression she wore when discussing his ex-wife. "That's nice of her," Sarah said carefully. "It is," William agreed. He typed back, "Thank you. I hope you're well." Then he put the phone away and turned his attention back to Sarah. The promotion had come as a surprise. William had been so focused on rebuilding his personal life after the divorce that he hadn't realized how much his work performance had improved. His supervisor had commented on his renewed energy and creativity, his willingness to take on new challenges. It seemed that ending his marriage had freed up mental and emotional resources that William hadn't even realized he was expending. "You know what I've been thinking about?" Sarah asked, settling back in her chair with her coffee. "What's that?" "How different your story could have been if you and Camilla had been honest with each other earlier, if you had talked about your problems instead of just accepting them as permanent." William considered this. "Do you think it would have made a difference?" "Maybe," Sarah said. "Or maybe you would have realized sooner that you weren't right for each other. Either way, it would have been better than years of slow suffocation disguised as domestic harmony." "That's a rather bleak way to describe marriage," William observed. "Not marriage in general," Sarah clarified. "Just marriage without honesty. Marriage without the willingness to keep choosing each other actively instead of just passively accepting each other." William thought about his relationship with Sarah, about how different it felt from the comfortable routine he had shared with Camilla. With Sarah, every conversation felt intentional. Every moment together felt chosen rather than habitual. They talked about everything: their work, their dreams, their fears, their past relationships. There was no careful avoidance of difficult topics, no polite pretense that everything was fine when it wasn't. "Is that what we're doing?" William asked. "Actively choosing each other?" "I think so," Sarah said. "At least I hope so. I choose to be here with you every Saturday morning instead of a dozen other things I could be doing. I choose to tell you when something bothers me instead of quietly resenting it. I choose to be excited about introducing you to my sister instead of keeping you compartmentalized from the rest of my life." William squeezed her hand. "I choose to trust you with my real thoughts instead of just the ones I think you want to hear. I choose to be excited about our future together instead of just grateful that you're willing to put up with my baggage." "What baggage?" Sarah asked with a smile. "The fact that you were married to someone who didn't appreciate what she had. The fact that you're a little gun-shy about commitment. The fact that you sometimes wake up in the middle of the night wondering if you're too old to start over." William stared at her. "How did you know about that last one?"
"Because I do the same thing," Sarah admitted.
"I'm 36 years old, William. I've been married and divorced. I've had serious relationships that didn't work out. Sometimes I wonder if I've missed my chance at the kind of love that people write songs about. And then you make me coffee on Saturday morning and listen to me complain about garden gnome custody battles, and I think maybe the best love isn't the kind people write songs about. Maybe it's the kind that feels like coming home." William felt something settle in his chest, a kind of peace he hadn't experienced in years. "I love you," he said, surprising himself with the words. Sarah smiled, her eyes bright with tears. "I love you too," she said, "and I think we're going to be very good at this." Later that afternoon, after Sarah had gone home to prepare for her sister's visit, William found himself thinking about Camilla. Not with bitterness or longing, but with a kind of grateful sadness. Their marriage had failed, but it had also taught him valuable lessons about what he needed in a relationship. Camilla's affair had been devastating, but it had also freed both of them from a situation that was slowly killing their spirits.
He wondered if Camilla was truly happy with Marcus, if their passion had survived the transition from secret affair to open relationship.
He hoped so. Despite everything that had happened between them, William genuinely wanted his ex-wife to find the love and excitement she had been seeking. She deserved that, just as he deserved what he was building with Sarah. That evening, William called his parents to tell them about Sarah, about his promotion, about the new life he was building. His mother cried a little, partly from relief that he seemed to be moving forward, and partly from sadness that his marriage to Camilla hadn't worked out. "I liked Camilla," his mother said. "But I liked the sound of Sarah too, and more importantly, I like how you sound when you talk about her." "How do I sound?" William asked. "Happy," his mother said simply. "Really, genuinely happy. Not just content or okay, but happy. I hadn't heard that in your voice for a long time." After hanging up the phone, William sat in his living room and looked around at the life he had built for himself. It was smaller than his old life in some ways, quieter, more solitary. But it was also more authentic, more intentional, more his own. The discovery of Camilla's affair had been the worst thing that had ever happened to him, but it had also led to the best thing, the chance to start over, to build a relationship based on honesty and choice rather than habit and obligation. Outside, the rain had stopped, and the evening sun was breaking through the clouds. William opened his windows to let in the fresh air and the sound of the world coming back to life after the storm. Tomorrow, he would meet Sarah's sister. Next month, he would start his new position at work. Next year, who knew what possibilities might unfold? For the first time in longer than he could remember, William was excited to find out. The phone call that had shattered his marriage had also set him free. Sometimes, he reflected, the worst moments of your life were also the moments that saved you from a future you didn't even realize you didn't want. And sometimes, the end of one love story was simply the beginning of another.